Hello. This is a way to give some orientation to using the program, the Therapeutic Color Indicator. This is a program that I worked on with Dima, uh, and I will give full credit to him in the write-up for this. He's a wonderful programmer, but what he's done is put into practice the methodology that I've been working on over a number of years in terms of investigating the use of color to help assist people, primarily those with migraine, seizure disorder, and people who've had mild traumatic brain injury. I get asked by many people, I know you're doing this color work, what's the color for, and fill in the name of the condition. And what I can share with you is I've found over the years, and I started doing this with the Roscoe Lux theatrical lighting gels. I started doing that way back, probably in the 1980s. Started to do that with traumatic brain injury patients. And then when I got to Southern College of Optometry about 10 years ago, the intuitive colorimeter was present, and I got a chance to work with that, and I got some training at Anglia Ruskin College of Optometry in England. Got a chance to observe its use, get some instruction with it, and that type of thing. And what I've done is sort of put the best of all of that together. And the idea here is to make this more of an, I wouldn't say open source, but to make it open, free, to the optometric community to be able to do the color testing without having to buy expensive devices. So that was the birth of the Therapeutic Color Indicator, and again, my hat's off to Dima for helping to do the computer programming for all of this. So when you first come up to it, and again, there's no licenses to pay, there's nothing, you just come into it. It's all one big long word, therapeuticcolor.indicator.com. And yeah, you have to double the C, therapeutic color and indicator, TOR, at the end.com. And you'll come to this page. For the sake of this video, I did Control++ just to make this a little larger. Now, the best testing environment for this would be not the room that I'm doing this video recording in, but one that essentially the only illumination is coming from the computer screen. It would be best to have a screen that has been calibrated. There are spectrophotometers that are USB based. Spyder, SPYDER, is one of them that you can hang off the top of the screen. It sits facing the screen. It has software that you would do a calibration, and then you know that the colors that it's showing are indeed the right colors. If you don't have that, I've been told on pretty good authority that an iPad or some of the Mac computers, but in particular iPads, that the color balancing of those systems is actually very well done and very consistent from machine to machine. So this would be best done in a room with no other illumination and certainly no windows like I have in the room that I'm recording in here. Now, your choices are, you could do the testing with colors only, and in that one, when you do it, there's nothing for the patient to actually look at. It's just color on the screen. It's a choice you have. I tend not to do that. I do it with text. There's just some text, and it's not about can you read faster, can you read more comfortably, do you get better comprehension. It's just some text to give them something to look at on the screen. You could also choose nonsense. The nonsense would just be letters or symbols on the screen. And again, it's just something to have the person look at. So again, I typically use text when I first start at it. Now, there are 3 different levels of filters that you can choose to work with. The light ones are ones that would be more related to if you were so motivated to work with color and reading. These would simulate the relatively mild or light absorption, mostly transmission type of filters that people have been using as overlays for reading. Um, because of some of the seminal work done by uh, Mitch Scheiman at BCO, that basically show that pretty much anybody who color helps with reading has a binocular problem, and if we address the underlying binocular problem and prescribe plus, that we don't need to worry about the color. We don't need to, at the end of all of that, they don't really benefit from color. I personally don't have interest in that, but I included it in this overall protocol. Primarily where I start is I'll start with the medium colors. These take out approximately 50% of the overall light to a little bit more than that. And what there are 12 potential therapeutic colors. In between each of the colors, there's going to be a gray that comes up on the screen. And I think of that gray as sort of cleansing the palette. It's not really a palette, it's a visual palette maybe, in the retina, so that the after image of the prior color isn't washing over the next color that comes up. So, and I'll share with you the dark colors came from the most popular Roscoe Lux theatrical lighting gels, the ones that really absorb a lot of light, but are needed for patients who are really suffering from photophobia symptoms or light-triggered sensations, and again, photophobia or that feeling of brain fog, etc., etc. So in general, I always am going to start with text, and I'm going to start with the medium filter set. Now, if a patient has come in with the double set of wraparound sunglasses, a ball cap, and a hoodie, well, then I'll start with the dark colors because they're telling you almost right away, I need more help. Now, the way the program works, and I'll hit start. When I hit start, the entire screen, the color, everything goes off the screen. You have the text you see up here, and basically you have 5 buttons. It's a 5-point Likert scale. If, as the person is looking at it, they go, oh, I really can't stand this. It's just awful. Get it away. That would be a -2. If the person looks at it and you can almost see them relax and start to breathe easier, and they really like it, don't change it, doc, don't change it. That's a +2. Somewhere in the middle, meh, I would click on the 0. If they like it but not really, really like it, that's a +1. If they don't care for it but it's not awful, that would be a -1. So I'd ask the person to rate it. For me, when this first comes up, it's like a -1. I don't care for it. Now, I have a neutral gray. I just count 1/1000, 2 I count to 5/1000, and I do not rate this one. I don't give it where you rate it, I give it a 0. So I tell the person we don't need to give this one a number. Now the therapeutic colors are coming up in a random order. It's one of the nice things about having this be computerized, but it comes up in a random order. This one, I don't like it. It washes it out a little. So again, 2/1000, 3/1000, 4/1000, 5, 0. I don't like this, -1. And I'm just going to click through this, but you would give them from a +2 to a -2. So, oh, I don't like, I'm collapsing the time for everybody. Ooh, this blue is nice. I'll give it a 1. Oh, -1. Green. Ooh, this is a good one. So I'll give it a 2. Okay, just to give you a sample. Don't like it. This is neutral. This one is a +1. Now, let me give you a sense of what happens. If the person, I'm going to give this a 2 so that I know we have at least 2 plus 2's. If a person gives us 1, 2, and all the others are less than that, it's just going to stop and it's going to show you that color, and you can print out the responses. The printout of the responses will show you what they gave for each of the color combinations that was seen. If, however, they give you 2 number 2's or 3 number 2's, the software will give you a chance to run a playoff between all of those number 2's. And it'll keep showing them. If you keep rating them, each of the colored ones 2's, it'll keep coming back. Finally, if you downgrade 1 or 2 of them and leave only one of them as a 2, then it will give you that as the resultant color. If you mark none of them, if the patient marks none of them as a 2, but again they have 1, 2, or 3 number 1's, the program will once again either stop on 1 number 1, or if you have 2 or 3 number 1's, it will continue to run a playoff with those. So I'm just going to say a 1 here, and now we're done. And you'll notice I intentionally chose 2 of them as number 2. So in this instance, I'm going to say let's do a playoff. Now, if I knew that I mishit a button, I clicked on the wrong thing, and I just want to run the whole thing again, I could do a no, I'm done, and I could run the program again. But let's do the playoff. So it'll first show one of the number 2's, and let's say I look at it and go, I still really like that. I'm going to call that a 2. I look at the neutral gray. Again, that would be for 5 seconds. You don't rate the gray. This was my other number 2, and now I look at it and go, no, this one is not as good. So I'll rate it a 1, and now it's going to kick out. And it shows me that I chose TCI, Therapeutic Color Indicator number 22. You see that in the middle of the screen here. This gives the RGB value for TCI 22, 100, 122, 172. It's showing the color in this little swatch over here. And if I hit preview, the entire screen will go back to that color. So, and then I'm going to do a back arrow. Hopefully, yes, that brings me to the report. And you'll notice that if I slide up here, it gives each of the responses to each of the different therapeutic colors, and it shows us what happened in the playoff history, and that could be repeated. So that's primarily how to use it. You could start over or print the results. And what I've found is that by going through this, it's pretty robust, meaning if I did it a second and a third time with a person, I often will come out with exactly the same color. Sometimes in the playoff, they might shift to the other one, if you will. About 40% of people that have the visual symptoms of photophobia and shimmering and moving of things, secondary to, again, a mild traumatic brain injury, seizure disorder, or migraines. About 40% of those will respond to a therapeutic color. And if you have the trial lenses that come, say, with the intuitive colorimeter, I can give you the conversion factor from the RGB values to the specific lenses so you could have your people try those in your practice. If you simply want to have the lenses tinted, again, right now you'd probably work with your local lab. Potentially, I've been asking my optician at Southern College of Optometry to show us which BPI dyes, BPI Brain Power Index, that's the name of the company that makes the dyes, which dyes and for how long in a basic CR39 lens would you need to make a lens this particular color. I do want to show you very quickly if we do this with the dark colors, these are much more intense, and I'm just going to, and you'll notice the neutral gray in between is not as bright. so that we're not bleaching the system as much. But what I want to do is go and show you at the end. I'll pick one of these just as a two, just so we can see the final report. Yeah, some of these are pretty intense, but believe it or not, every one of these colors that I'm showing you is one that a patient of mine has chosen. Here, what you see is the preferred filter comes up, and that number 77 green blue is actually the Roscoe Lux filter number and color. So every one of these you'll see that's tested here is just like holding up the Roscoe Lux sheet. The first one was number 39, Skeleton Exotic Sangria. Then number 3 was 48 Rose Purple. And if you've gotten the Roscoe Lux filters, you'll notice how they're all written by that number. So this was a quick tour of the Therapeutic Color Indicator software. Again, I want to thank Dima for programming this, and hope that you get a lot of positive use from it. If you have any questions, feel free to write me. I'm Dr. Paul Harris at paul.harrisod at gmail.com. So paul.harrisod, no space between my name and degree, at gmail.com, and I will be glad to assist you in the use of the Therapeutic Color Indicator.